Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my craft room. I'm super excited to share with you the Stamptember collaboration for Simon Says Stamp and Whimsy Stamps. It's this adorable chicken set called Just Chicken In. There are adorable little chicks and chickens and awesome sentiments as always when it comes to our Whimsy stamp sets. Here is a look at all of my farm-ish related things that I'm going to be using. As always, you can check out the description box below to see a list of everything I used, as well as my affiliate links, which help give me a little extra cash at no extra cost to you to help me run my website and my YouTube channel. So thanks so much to those who use my affiliate links. It means the world to me. So I went ahead and stamped my cow background in black ink on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 A2 size piece of cardstock, and I die cut it with my Wonky Window 4 die, and that's going to be just a fun border around my card. I have a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock that I ink blended using mustard seed all along the background of this also A2 size piece of paper. I'm bringing out my stencil from Whimsy called Sunrays, and I am centering that as best as I can onto my A2 size. It's a little, I guess you could say, shorter than my background, but that's okay because I have my die cut with that cute cow print border that's going to be covering anything that kind of abruptly ends on my background here. So through my stencil, I'm using spiced marmalade and I'm brushing it along with the stencil. I'm not doing any type of circular motion because I didn't put any pixie spray on my stencil. And there you can see this awesome sunray, and just like I said, that border hides any type of abrupt ending in my stencil. Of course, now that I've done my background, we have to add some splatter. So I'm going to bring out my new splatter box, all fresh and clean. And I spritzed it with my Distress sprayer, and I'm using a microfiber cloth just to pick up any excess ink. And then I'm going to do some additional splatter with that spiced marmalade Distress oxide. I'm just kind of squishing it onto a piece of acetate that I have here. I sprayed it with my sprayer to add some water, and I'm just using a scraggly little paintbrush to flick that or splatter that ink all over my background. I also put on some of my ink on 3 liquid pixie dust, and since I didn't clean my brush, it was also orange, but now it will be a shimmery orange splatter on my background. I've already stamped and colored my favorite of the chicken and little chicks images from that stamp set. And I've die cut from my Slimline chicken coop die set my little hay stacks kind of things here that the chickens nest in. And I've added some embossing using my Thatched Slimline embossing folder just to add some texture to those pieces. Now I have my sentiment ready to go, and I originally pulled out those rectangle dies to stamp my sentiment and kind of tuck behind my cow border, but it was too big and it blocked too much of my beautiful sun rays, so I decided to stamp directly onto my background. So I went ahead and roughly laid out all of the items on my card, including 2 clouds that I die cut from the Up in the Clouds die set. And I have a perfect space for that sentiment, so I am going to stamp Just Checking In with my peeps using my VersaFine and Onyx black ink. I knew it would stamp really well on top of my oxide ink distressed in that background, and I knew it would stamp really well the first time since I wasn't going to use my Misty. So now I wanted to add a little more color to my die cut pieces, and I was a little lazy and probably should have cleaned off my Make Art metal thingy here that I use for distressing. But it was okay. It turned out fine. I'm using some brown ink. I decided to go with Gathered Twigs to distress on my little hay pieces here just to give it, again, some dimension and texture. And then in that tiny little clean corner, I used Tumbled Glass Oxide just to add a little blue to under my clouds. I thought my card was very yellow, so I wanted to add a little bit of a cool color just to help even out my background a little bit. So I thought adding some blue to my clouds would help with that. So now I have my card base and I'm going to get ready to start gluing everything together. I'm using some wet glue behind my distressed background and adhering that piece directly to my A2 card base. This is a top folding card base. And then I'm going to use some foam strips to adhere down my cow border. I decided to glue my clouds directly to my background. So I'm just using my border here to help me with placement so I know where I want my clouds to be, and that way they wouldn't be covered up too much with my wonky window die cut. So once I've glued both of those clouds down, I'll go ahead and add those foam strips. These are from scrapbook.com. They're super thin, super great foam strips. And I'm putting that all along the background of this wonky window die cut. I'm going to peel off that release paper and then place that onto my background. I really love how this is turning out. I think this cow print just adds a little extra touch and fun to this card. I'm using my scissors, sorry it's off camera, but I snipped off the edges of the clouds that hung off the edge of the card. And now I'm going to glue on my little haystacks for my chickens to rest in. I'm going to use some wet glue directly onto the border frame of my wonky window and adhere these two pieces down. And I didn't like that you couldn't see a little bit of that cow frame. I felt that if you couldn't see that cow frame, it looks like there's just two pieces of hay just floating in the sky. So I scooched them in a little bit so you can see at least the starting of that wonky window piece going across the card. Now I'm going to bring out my foam squares and I'm just going to adhere all those little chicks and my chicken where you saw them a little bit earlier when I was practicing my placement all over my card. So everything is adhered, all my chicks and chickens, with foam squares. And then of course we need a little bit of bling on the card. So I'm bringing out my Sparkletz blend. It is a Halloween blend called Creepy, but they have these beautiful gemstones in there that are iridescently clear, so it picks up the color behind it. I use my jewel picker and wet glue just to adhere those down around the card. Here's a final look. I hope you'll jump over to that Simon Says Stamp website. You can use my links down below to get your collaboration stamp set with Whimsy Stamps. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click this like button if you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you're new here, I hope I've inspired you to subscribe and come back. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day.